Welcome to the Encore today. We are back with Pastor Wesley Morris. How's it going?
Excellent, Scott.
All right. Today we're going to talk about parenting. Now, we're not going to, we can't, in 30 minutes or so, we can't say all things parenting. I know there's a lot. Sometimes there's questions that we get in and we'll do a whole topic on them. Not that you say everything, but sometimes we can kind of get to a conclusion and answer. Parenting is like a 38-week
Well, and can
series.
we also say we're not going to come as some kind of gurus because our kids are just now teenagers.
Younger, yeah.
So it's not like we know everything. We're just going to do the best we can from the Bible. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are going to share kind of, biblical principles from foundational stuff and talk about our philosophies on parenting, and hopefully some of that's helpful. But again, every time we talk about it, we're asking solicitation from other people to say, hey, I found this helpful. This is good. Here's my philosophy, that type of a thing too. Just kind of parenting in today's world. But I do want to mention, a few weeks ago, we had talked about my dog Finn. Put his picture up here.
Finn.
And
the hawk.
Finn, he's back. Look
there
at
he
this
is.
guy.
We need a fresh picture. That's
I
not
know.
a fresh
I got to
picture.
update it. He's 11 pounds heavier and almost potty trained, I think. He's doing pretty good. It's a battle, but
I was just going to ask you how he's doing with just being a dog in your house.
I think it's great.
That's great.
I think it's great.
You were hyped in the beginning. I just wonder if it's still,
No,
you still
I'm
feel
still
good.
there. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, so
It's the worst stage. So if you like him now, you'll like him later.
Right, and it's helpful that it's warm spring now, and he's, if it was
Oh.
February, boy,
Oh,
I don't know, dude.
I'm telling you, people buy dogs going into winter. And I
Right.
don't understand that.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but there's
Yeah,
nothing worse
right.
than a dog present for Christmas in
Right.
Michigan. That's like the worst thing.
Anyway, if you missed that original episode where all of that, the history, whatever, we talked about my family getting a dog, and we do not know his breed, so I did do a DNA test, sent it out. Those results are not yet in, but we did get a ton of responses from you guys guessing his breed. Of course, it's probably a mix of a mix of a mix, so I'm going to try to do my best to take the highest percentage. All of that prize is still yet to happen. Thank you for your responses. I don't have the results yet. It takes a total of like 4 weeks, so I think we're like maybe 1 week out, I'm hoping.
From getting it.
From getting the results. So
I like to think so.
yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I think the episode was three previous episodes. If you want to go back and look at that, it's at the beginning. But
I got a question for you.
yeah, you got some bottle caps on the table.
I got a box of bottle caps right here. Look at that.
Yeah,
I have a problem with candy.
I know you do.
Like
I know.
eat. I'm not going to propose myself here to be some kind of health nut, but I try to eat pretty healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Except when there's a box of candy around. This was in the office on my way over here, and I just took it.
It's your drug. You're like, forget it. I'm going.
I don't know whose it was. I don't know who it's for. I took it and brought it over here because it's a problem. So I might be eating those throughout.
Just go for it. Just crunch them right into the mic. You would never do anything like that,
to
would
do
you?
that. Speaking of which, we
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
conference, first ever Rock Church
Yeah.
hosted conference. We've
Yeah.
attended conferences. We've been to we've heard about conferences
Yeah.
out there in the world in our life. We've never had a conference.
We have not.
I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
When I hear the word conference, I brace myself for boredom and awful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is my own personal problem. I'm not saying everyone, hey, do you want to go to this conference with me? Absolutely not. That sounds terrible, is the feeling I have. Now, it's from some damage in my life to what conferences have always been.
Apparently, yeah.
So, first question.
Right.
If I say to you, Scott, you want to go to you're probably a little bit different than me.
Mm.
Grew up the same.
Uh-huh.
But interestingly, if I say, hey, man, you want to go to Ohio and go to this conference with me? What would you say?
Well, you shouldn't have said Ohio.
You want to go to California?
Yes.
Go to this conference?
Yes.
What is your feeling when I say conference?
Obviously, the topic is massive, of course. Like if you're talking about robotics or some science conference, I'm out.
Good and well what I'm talking about.
I do. I just had to preface
conference.
that. I enjoy them. I am somebody who I'm always trying to learn from other ministries, other people. There are people that you don't meet that you see online that are influential in some ways. So names can, of course, bring that up more than anybody. If you said, let's go to this conference, and I had never heard of a name, I might not be as inclined to want to go. the big names and the authors and the big name pastors bring that out a little bit more, I would admit. But yeah, I do.
I'm not going to say that I don't like learning or don't like hearing from other people. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But you like conferences.
Yeah, as a general, yeah, I do.
Uh-huh. I know this about you. It's interesting.
Yeah, I've gone to several conferences in my life. Our staff has been to conferences. I know you have something against them though. That's
It's
just
called
like
hatred. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you something. I have. This is a true statement, and I'm not even trying. You know how people are obnoxious. I can be that person.
Yeah.
To where you're going to prove a point, so you won't admit if something turns you around.
Yeah.
I would admit that. To this day, I have never been to a conference that I liked, almost even a little bit. It ruins my weekend, and I'm mad that I went. Every time. I've been to a handful, not a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a miserable, awful experience.
All right, let me try to paint a picture for you. It's 1998, and Billy Graham is going to put on. He's
interesting, so he wouldn't have one.
Host of the conference.
No, he
just
does.
go with this.
He has had. Okay, go.
And him and
1998. He's still pretty old then, but
he is. But I'm trying to put you in your zone too a little bit.
All right, go. This is interesting.
Jerry Falwell Sr. is speaking at the conference.
My man.
Yeah. Chuck Swindoll, John Rawlings. Let's put these guys out there going, hey, we want to engage in young preachers of America, encourage them to go out and preach the gospel. Tell me you wouldn't want to go to that. You'd sign up for that in 1998.
You know what's funny to me? I just remembered something. I've been to a conference where Jerry Falwell Sr., John Rawlings, and Chuck Swindoll all spoke at it. Do you believe that? That's real.
Who was this? Like a Liberty?
It was at Liberty University.
Okay.
Remember they did that thing, and people would come in, and the students could attend if they wanted to, but it was for pastors from around the country.
I stayed as far away from that as I could.
I heard all three of those guys
All right.
at a conference. All three. Billy wasn't there, obviously.
No, he could barely walk.
No, he could. He wouldn't. He just wasn't. That's not what he didn't. He's not a conference.
No,
speaker.
I know he's not a conference guy. I had to create a hypothetical thing for you.
So what are you saying now? Go again.
If that was the conference, Billy Graham is promoting this thing. He puts it on. These are his keynote speakers. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, in 1998. Are you going? Would you have gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have.
Probably.
Yeah. So I think it has to do with the people there more than, right?
Well, this is an interesting diagnosis.
Because no disrespect to any of those people, I didn't go to those conferences, and they were there 5 feet away from my dorm room for free.
Charles Stanley was there. I heard him at one.
Yeah, right. Swindoll, Falwell, like I didn't go. No disrespect to them. I understand.
It's not about those guys.
Yeah,
It's just you weren't going to conferences back then.
Right. No. Nor did I even think I wanted to be in ministry too. So
right.
There's a different mindset.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. But anyway.
You think it's about the people now?
Mostly. I'm not saying I wouldn't go to another one that would, if the topic was interesting, but it is a lot of it. It's about the leadership. Yeah.
It's something to do with it. I think people would be surprised by this. I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to portray something that's not read the correct way. Mm-hmm. I don't like church world.
Yeah,
does that make sense? I don't like church nerddom.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel good among. I'm not going to be the guy like I don't fit among any pastors because I'm too cool for it. That's not the case. I have pastoral friends that I love, and I have guys that are pastors I look up to for the rest of my life, dead and alive. Mm-hmm. I don't like church stuff. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
I'm not saying it in a terrible way, am I?
It makes sense to me because I know you. I understand that. Maybe you might want to explain a little bit more.
Well, I don't want to hear a lot about how they do things. Like I'm bored out of my brain. Like I don't like a room full of only Christian leaders.
Yeah.
Talking to Christian leaders about Christian stuff. I don't like that. Like if you want to preach the Bible and throw down, and I'm convicted and moved. Okay, but it's it's a lot of like methodology. It's a lot of. philosophy. It's a lot of curriculum. It's a lot of resources. It's a lot of culturally relevant I don't want to hear about it, Scott. I'm like, you are, and I'm not even saying they're wrong or it isn't beneficial. I just don't, oh my goodness, I'm dead. I just sit there numb like, oh my gosh, you guys, why don't you go back and do something? And it's a little condescending, I got to be honest. I sometimes I don't feel good about myself, but I look around, I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Why don't we go do this then? We all knew what we were supposed to do, but maybe we didn't. I don't know. Why do you like going? What do you like going? This is turning into longer than I wanted it to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good
now,
question.
All of this is going to come to a very positive thing about the Rock Church thing because I'll admit my feelings going in. And,
yeah. Okay, so you said you and I were at a conference one time together, and I said, hey, what are your feelings about blah, blah, blah? And you're like, dude, I think it's fine. It's not my thing. You said somebody should be doing this. So
what's that? Putting on a conference or going?
No. I would say that the things that they were teaching about church leadership.
Yeah,
so,
and that's true. Yeah, I remember that.
I just want to say this way. I would say probably part of it is I think you do understand the value to it, and that I could see why somebody would want to do that. But I do think, sometimes just based on your giftings and interests, those are not the best things for you. So I guess that's how I see it. For me,
okay.
I don't know. It's very helpful. It's not about.
What's it helpful to? What's it help you with?
Well, I think there is a. I am not a good reader. Straight up.
You mean like you don't go to read? You don't read 10 books and learn?
No, I don't. Yeah, right. I'm not. Some people can like kill a book in a weekend. I just can't do that. So even at school, if I'm not sitting in that class, I have a hard time learning. Like the professors would be like, hey, if you miss a class, I'll send you the information. I just was not. I didn't process things well. I process way better if I'm sitting in a room with a person talking to me. So I think that's really what it comes down to, the style of learning. Like I always said that, like I wanted to be in the class to learn. Not that I was looking forward to go to every class, but the classes I wanted to. So my mind processes things different when I'm in person. I'm an in-person learner way more than reading. So I think it can be recharging.
Yeah.
I'm with you as far as there's some very negative things that come out of it, and there's high and mighty people that think they have everything figured out.
Oh my goodness, I've seen so much of this.
Yeah, I want to tell you this is the only way to do it.
Shut up, buddy.
Right.
That's how I feel. And I got an attitude, I'll admit. And then everyone gets hyped. They go to, Dallas, Texas, and you got every huge church in the world.
Yeah.
And you got the guru up there telling you how he knows everything. And you got these guys going back to here in the Midwest or somewhere out in nowhere land, Nebraska, all hyped up. And they go back and make a mess in their church trying to implement some high-level thing that works in urban Dallas, but it doesn't work outside of Omaha somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, yeah.
And so then they think, well, if they copy this, if they copy Rick Warren, they're going to have 10,000 people, which is sometimes I question the motive of even wanting that to begin with. Like, I want to be a big shooter, and I just get irritated. But okay, enough about that.
Yeah.
That being said, we just had a conference
we did
this body. What did you think about it?
I thought it was incredible. I have to be, so I'm an insider in the sense that like I was the one that wanted to put this thing on a year ago. Right. So I don't want to be the guy that's like, hey, this was my idea. Everything was perfect. This was the best thing ever. I have to try to see from an outside lens, but for us, like our staff was awesome in working in unity and in using different gifts, and
they were. And
I felt like it accomplished the goal. Of course, we could go through a nitpick and say maybe we do this better or do this different, as we do with everything. I was very much pleased overall. I felt like people walked away encouraged. We got a lot of positive response. I haven't even read through all the things, but
it was the best conference I've ever been to, Scott. And I say that I didn't have anything to do with it, other than you asked me to preach once. And I preached.
Yeah.
And I just attended.
Yeah.
I was there to interact with people. I was happy to do that. So I feel like I can say this because I'm not bragging on the church where I'm a pastor. I am, but it's not to my credit. So I feel like this is a very neutral. Quite frankly, I went in just pleading to God in heaven that it wouldn't be boring and awful because I have, as previously discussed.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And I think everybody generally seems to be saying, I thought it was beneficial for the body. I thought the goal was the right goal.
Yeah.
And it was actually a lot of fun, which conference and fun are like oxymorons to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was sitting there going, how is this much fun?
Right.
And how can we be covering this much time and it's going by so quickly and enjoyably and not agonizingly?
Yeah.
It was great.
We
man.
said from the get-go too, like our goal was we like to goof off here.
Yeah.
And we want to have fun. Even in our elder meetings, we have some goof off time for sure. So I think that's important to you and me and a lot of us on the staff. And we wanted to portray that going into it, we're going to have some fun, but there's going to be some teaching to it too. So
it was
that's
great,
cool.
man.
That's awesome.
It was great. I felt really good about it, and I would love it if something like that happened again down the road.
Yeah. We'll look at those options.
The benefit to the body seemed really good.
Right.
And me too, personally. It benefited me.
Yeah, me too, for sure, without a doubt.
Way to take my stigma of my conference hatred down a notch.
Hey, that was my whole intention.
You fixed it. Chuck Swindoll couldn't do it. But
no, Chuck was horrible, man. Oh man, that's awesome. Our own church conference. We're halfway through already. Do we need to do just like push out parenting and talk about church conferences for 15 more minutes or what?
Yeah, let's push it away.
Okay,
let's just do it again.
Okay, we've never done this before.
Change subject live?
Live subject change. Mm-hmm. So
I don't know what's going to happen now.
I think we're going to let's just talk about learning philosophies and even within the conference of, we'll talk about some of these things. So let's just say this. We've never done this before.
This could be a disaster.
This is going to be awful.
We don't have a problem talking, me and you. We're not good at everything, but we sure can cover time talking.
What we'll do is we'll do parenting for our next one.
Yeah, we were going to do biblical parenting, but we'll do it we'll start much earlier than this and give you guys a real good a little better.
We wouldn't do it justice if we didn't. So we're gonna close the book on parenting now, and let's go back into the.
I like it. I have all right.
Yeah, the conversation was good about even learning styles and what you benefit from. But so honestly, I appreciated that you said somebody's got to do this. At that conference we were at a few years ago.
Correct, yeah.
But maybe, my gifting isn't necessarily in this. And that was kind of what we were pushing for our conference this last weekend, was that there's so many different gifts. And like one of the things that I could have talked about even longer within that is celebrating diversity. That's something that I...
So can I say something about this?
Of course.
Keep saying that.
Yeah.
And because of the cultural times that we live in, that sounds like racial diversity, which is a fine thing to celebrate, of course.
Yeah.
But what are you talking about when you say that with regard to our conference?
Okay, so I did mention I do think race is a part of it, meaning I wouldn't want to be able to. People think I wouldn't want to be able to serve with somebody who comes from this background. I'm not comfortable with him or her. Mm-hmm. We get so caught up in, whether we even know it or not, like our circle of influence and our circle of friends. And the truth is, we build that around people that are very similar to us.
Yeah.
We have the same likings, we have the same backgrounds, and then when somebody else comes along, let's just use a community group. Whatever, you're in a small group, you're praying with this crew, you've been together for 2 years, I don't know. Somebody comes in, they don't have the background that you have, and that could mean race.
Could mean race. Could mean politics. You mentioned.
Yes, it could.
You taught on this for people that weren't there. Scott taught what this meant. It was very
right. Social economic type, class upbringing, education. Somebody comes in and speaks poorly.
Yeah,
I don't want to be around this guy, and I don't mean to be gross, but maybe they're just not a clean person, and they don't dress very nice, and so I'm kind of grossed out by them. Mm-hmm. All of those types of things, I guess, is what I mean by diversity. Is we would want, in the body of Christ, we would want to celebrate all of that. Like you would hope, I know, so here's the truth. Diversity is also a lot of where you live in the country.
Yeah.
So we are not going to get 100 different races in Fenton, Michigan, just because the city we
No,
live
this
in.
isn't New York. This is not a melting pot.
Right. Right. No,
It'd be
it's
great
not
if
at
it
all.
was more, but it's just not. People don't want to
Yeah.
live necessarily in the Midwest unless you have a reason. Like they don't migrate here, So.
Right. We just don't. So this, whatever. So you can't force some of those things. I know people think, man, it would be great to have 100 different races here. But the truth is Fenton, Michigan, Linden, just isn't that.
Yeah.
But philosophically, that should be the mindset. Like literally anybody. Now, there is a ton of diversity here. People don't realize, maybe they do realize it. We have people coming from the jail, fresh out of jail.
Pretty diverse.
Serving in our church.
Yeah, they are.
We have some people with some rich backgrounds, some poor backgrounds, and
broken homes, things like that.
Yeah. But and again, I don't have time. I didn't have time in my message. There was so much to say to break this down a million different ways. But a lot of it is like how our brain processes things too. Like I might just have different ideas of how the world works and why I vote a certain way and why I give my gifts and time to a certain thing, right? And as a Christian, you're in there going, well, you should give your time and gifts to this. You should make sure that you're doing this. Well, maybe not. I don't know that God has necessarily called everybody to all of those type things. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use an example because it's really hot right now, but something like abortion.
I was going to bring this up.
Yeah. So just there's so much to say about it, but just as a biblical stand, you and I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to speak for you. We're not for abortion, right? I think we do not want to kill innocent babies. We would not want that, but I would say, so there are Christians that go, it is my job to stand up for that.
Yeah. Fight
for that, however that looks. I don't know, picketing or working for organizations or pushing votes. Maybe you feel God has called you to do that, but you can't put that on every believer to say, how can you be a Christian and not, vote for this? How can you be a Christian and not push this agenda, right?
Well, they do say that. So I'm starting to, the question is forming in my mind. Mm-hmm. Is that a job that God calls Christians to?
I would think it is. It is quite possible.
Is it? I'm all right. So I'm taking out one thing. So if they work in a unwed mother's home, or they get funding to offer an alternative, and if they stand in the parking lot with a very compassionate posture and say of an abortion clinic, maybe, and say, please reconsider. We just want to let you know that God loves you. God planned this child.
Yeah.
We know that we can't change your mind.
Yeah.
But we would love to offer you, if it is because of resources, if it is because of money, or if it is because of housing, we have this other thing. Could we get 5 minutes? That seems like some gospel work to me, if it eventually points to the gospel. I have no criticisms to make of that.
Yeah.
Some people, I think, a lot of people, man, make it their mission. My mission in this life is to fight against abortion. And I guess I don't know if that's a thing or not.
I see what you're saying.
Is that a thing? I mean,
oh man, that yeah.
I'm not trying to people are going to read things into this right now and feel themselves starting to get upset with me but just walk it out with us for a second.
That's a great question. I guess I would say I would think, and we're open to having conversations, one's mission could include that heavily. Maybe somebody just says, this is what I want to give my time because of what Christ did in me, right? So
how do they give their time? So what would be?
Well, I think like what you said, if somebody wants to work in a Planned Parenthood type of a environment where they can.
By work, you mean work to save the life?
Yeah. Sorry.
People are going to be like, what? No,
sorry.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
I thought we would probably clarify that one.
Work with the people, care for these mothers, care for these these people, I think, because of the cause of Christ. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, you can't black and white statement say you can and can't do this. I do think somebody has more of a drive in their heart to go after something like that.
So what bugs you? Is anything bug you about this? The crusade? There's an anti-abortion crusade within Christianity.
Yes.
We would say up front, the Bible speaks about the blood of the innocent. God's favor was shown on the midwives in Egypt as they were saving the babies from being thrown in the river.
Yeah.
So we know, and we say, the Lord seems to stand against it. The Lord does not want this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just put, we can agree on that. There is a crusade against it. Anything buggy about it?
Yeah, what bugs me about it is the whatever. So I see it from a distance, from a Twitter post or a Facebook post or whatever, and it comes across as very unloving and ungracious. And I would say, all abortion is murder. Let's just they put a statement out.
Someone out there right now is going, it is.
Right. And I would say, number one, who are you speaking to? Right. You're speaking to the people that are already going to amen you. If you are trying to speak to the opposite party, I would say go in with some love and grace and go.
You're starting with condemnation.
Yes. Like when you start from a point of this is not what you do, people are going to automatically turn away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got asked in the conference about how would you have a conversation with a transgender person, and if our mindset automatically goes to I don't know this person, I'm going to immediately start with what I think is wrong about you.
Right.
I think we've missed the point. Yeah, you can stand in church and a church and say abortion is wrong. You're going to get 1,000 amens. Okay.
Clap. Yeah.
Where are we at as far as caring for those people?
Right.
Having any idea where their background, where their story came from, how they even got to that place. Not even to mention the shame and the guilt that they may feel, or the questioning that they may go through and go, did I do the right thing? Was I forced into it? I don't know.
I think that some people, when Jesus came to that woman that was about to be stoned for adultery, she was guilty of adultery, and God condemns it. That's true.
He does, yeah.
The Pharisees picking up stones, their assessment of her sin was correct.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus comes and condemns them for the way they've done it.
Yeah,
and I think
he did.
He does not permit her sin, but he's the only one in the group that shows compassion and mercy toward her, the sinner. And he tells her to go and sin no more. He agrees with their assessment of the law, but he says, "Why? You're picking up stones. Like, why doesn't the first one who's innocent of everything pick up the stone? They all leave." I think people do that to mothers having abortions.
Yeah,
women going. It's a license that Christianity has given itself to pick up stones.
Yeah,
and just throw them, and there's no regard for the woman herself or people that have been affected by this.
Yeah.
None of this makes abortion okay. Nobody's saying that any more than Jesus was saying adultery is okay. But he loved that woman, and he treated her. And I don't know why we think we're doing opposite, or they think by what they're doing they're not the ones picking up stones. I don't know, but it's hard for me to even preach against it because, and I do and have. I preached on Mother's Day one time on abortion. It was crazy, but I don't want them to think I'm on their team with how they're acting. If that,
yeah.
And I don't know why we pick the favorites again with this.
Yeah, you could throw homosexuality in there too. This is the same.
They love throwing down against the gays. It's their favorite.
Yeah.
They like smash homosexuality. Let's smash marriages between one man and one woman. So in your face, let's blow up abortion as much as we can. And there's sin that sits in the body of Christ. There's drunkenness and pornography and husbands and wives failing in their duties to the Word of God as a husband and wife. There's parenting failures everywhere. There's Christians that are ashamed of the gospel, and Paul said, "I'm not ashamed of the gospel," and we don't torch them with the same fervor.
Yeah,
and it's always been odd to me when we pick a thing and go, we're going to make a crusade against this one thing to stop it, when only the gospel stops anything anyway.
Right.
No law, no court, no nothing, and people are all excited right now. Because it's likely that Roe v. Wade could be overturned at a federal level.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. And people act like, well, we have won. Christians act like, well, we have won something.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, if the laws of the land coincide more with the laws of God, I get it.
Right,
I get it.
right,
Like, okay,
right.
but my crusade is not to save a nation here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what have you won? Until people repent and believe in Jesus, even if it's like, what have we won? I'm not saying it shouldn't be overturned. I don't weigh in on that really, but like, is that that's the gospel mission? That's what grinds me a little bit. They get so excited and they'll stand on street corners affirming this, but they won't even talk to their own family member and ask them eternal and spiritual questions about their soul because they're afraid. Like, I don't get that, man. That doesn't even connect in my mind. And the only thing I can come up with, the only conclusion I can come up with is you don't care about the gospel as much as you do about social issues in a conservative lens. Am I wrong? Is that wrong?
Well,
like, am I nuts?
I would say that would be for them to answer. Like, answer that yourself. It is quite possible, and I'm sure in certain scenarios that is happening. So, yeah, absolutely, it is happening.
Yeah.
Do we know specifically of anybody we're talking about? No, not necessarily. But ask yourself the question, like, why would I be involved in these things? Is it because what Christ did in me, and I want to care for people, or is it just that I do care more about this vote than the cause of Christ? I think is a wrong motive. So, yeah, going back to that, people's giftings and what they could be called to do. Listen, like, people have to answer this for themselves, like, why? Just ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is the motive behind it, and how are you living that out? What does it actually look like? Because we do need to be careful about the condemning without loving, and I think your picture of Jesus approaching that woman caught in adultery is about the best example we can come up with. That's fascinating.
Well, and I feel like that's where we got it. Like, it's not, this isn't one man's point of view here.
Right.
Like, I think we should handle it this way. And someone say, well, I disagree. We have the example. Like, I didn't come up with this on my own. We look to him as our example and go, look how he treated these people. Yeah. Without condoning their sin. I mean, there's a way to do it, it seems like. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Once again, a topic change. I don't know where we're at. But.
We're all over the place. We went from parenting to abortion. That was a little bit of a...
Well, that's a hard left turn there, isn't it?
Was not our intent.
It's the hot subject of our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to get confused on what the mission is and is not. Yeah. The mission has been the same, that people need to know the Lord to make them a new creation. And that in and of itself wins a lot of victories over sin. But people can work that out on their own. They're going to have to work that out on their own. I had to do that. I'm always doing that.
Yeah. The why behind it is huge, and then how you implement that is a big deal. And you're right. We can all get caught up in that and kind of, I don't know, lose track of sight of the reason why, and even feel like it's a good cause. We feel like we're doing something for people, and so maybe people have a lot of good intentions with that.
I think so. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I can't judge that. Yeah. I think many of them do have good intentions and a zeal for the innocent, and I'm not going to be mad about that. But like, guys,
yeah. So I in a sense, I like that there are people, and I get that there should be people that stand up for the rights of the unborn who don't have a voice, right? In that sense, like just that blanket statement. Yeah. But, how is that done? This could be controversial, but I don't, which is the same reason I don't have a problem with people speaking up for minorities who haven't had as strong of a voice in this country.
And that's what's funny. And people may be mad about that. That's a good point.
Comparison?
Because it's like, it's okay here. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. It is okay in some regard. Like, that's a good point, dude. That bothers. I'm bothered.
Oh, I think about it a lot. I was actually cautious to even say it or not.
It's a good point, and it's not. We're not social justice guys, but the gospel is universally compassionate.
Yeah.
So if there's oppression here, and we're happy to crusade against it and be called a conservative, politically conservative or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is oppression over here at times, and if we speak for that one, now we're a political liberal.
Definitely.
And no, you shouldn't. You should not speak on their behalf, whether it be minorities or something.
Right. And I would
Scott,
say, I know.
That's crazy.
So just so we're clear, but we know both sides can go too far. So
And I'll give you that if that's the point.
Yeah, so we're not standing with whatever political party you're assuming that goes with one or the other. Both sides, I think, could go too far. But the point is, like, do you care about people that don't have a voice? Okay, let's try to be consistent with that and genuinely care for people. And as a Christian, it is because we love because God first loved us. He saved us from our sins. I would want other people to see that too. So hopefully that's the starting point of all of this.
There's a lot to talk about with this.
I know.
There's
man,
a lot in
maybe
my mind right now.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot in my mind. Yeah.
Go a couple more. Let's go a couple more minutes.
Well, it's people will pull scriptures accurately so. Many times I have pulled them about abortion. I feel like this sounds like we're not against abortion. I hope everyone understands.
I think
we're clear. We're clear on where God is with this. So they'll pull all these verses. And this doesn't even, I'm not going to start some crusade on this one either, if you want to talk about racism, right? Well, there's a lot about that too. Jesus with the Samaritan woman, he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Jesus sends them ahead, and in Samaria, they don't give him a room because he's a Jew.
Yeah.
The story of the Good Samaritan, the reason the priest and the Levite, they pass by the Good Samaritan beat up on the side of the road is because there is a racial component. And the one who stopped, or the guy beat up, and he is of Jewish descent or something. And the one who stops is the Samaritan, who should hate this guy, and he should be the one to give him another kick on the way by. His own people pass him, and the opposing race stops. Well, that's Jesus in the story, of course.
Yeah.
And so so all of this is there, but nobody, if you pull scriptures and talk about how the gospel heals racial tension, you're called woke, or you're called a compromiser, or you're called being influenced by Black Lives Matter or something.
Yeah.
But if you preach and you pull even one partial verse and thunder on abortion, everybody claps. And that's fine, clap. To me, it's the same thing, as you pointed out first. Why is that? Is it because one political party, because the conservative political party is anti-abortion and the liberal one is anti-racism, and so if you're not
unfortunately,
a liberal,
I think that is a part
that's
of
what
it
is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
that's what it is. If the conservatives started crusading for racism, it'd be okay to talk about racism also.
Yeah.
Is this weird?
It's very weird.
Are people going to be mad about this right now?
Yes.
How so? Why?
I don't know. All I would say is I would welcome conversation. If we've said something genuinely offensive, let's talk about it. I'd
like to know why are they mad? I don't know. Other than my assumption is they're wrapped up in politics. So much so that if the other side says there's a racial problem, we should address it, but they say a lot of other crazy things that you don't agree with politically, we're not allowed to pull the one thing they're right about and go, well, that is a decent point.
Right.
I guess not.
I don't know.
Or I'm wrong, and there's some other factor where.
Yeah. And again, maybe the argument is the numbers on abortion are massive. Fine. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know the numbers on everything else.
62 million is the number I hear.
Right. Well,
I didn't count, but I think so.
That's supposed to be more than Adolf Hitler. All of that.
Yeah, all those things you can say. Okay, fine. It's a big. I agree with you.
Yeah, we're not saying it's not a big deal, but it's all together. Like let's care for people, or we don't care for people. All people. But
I don't know what to do with this sometimes.
Right.
So we just talk about it like this, I guess.
Well, here it is, man. And we opened up with trying to talk about parenting. I think we're gonna shoot for that next time on the parenting.
I think we're in trouble. I think
we might be in trouble.
I think we're going to get in trouble for this, but that's okay. But don't stop. Like if you got a perspective.
Yeah. I want to close with this. Like bring those concerns or questions. We'll gladly have conversations about that. If we've said something that was offensive, let us know. Like we would want to talk about it. Any final thoughts?
No.
We got ourselves in trouble.
We've gone too far already. But
Okay.
Whatever, man.
Okay.
I don't know. Whatever.
Speaking honestly. So, hey, as always, don't take our word for it, being his, and we will see you next time on the Encore.